3 weeks had passed since the disappearance, and Ralston looked nothing like the composed tribune who had once commanded respect throughout the colony. His scales had dulled from stress and lack of proper nutrition. His crest hung limp most of the time. Other Vrelnids whispered when he passed, their concern obvious but unwelcome. He did not want their pity. He wanted his children. Tessalin had stopped leaving their quarters entirely. She kept the nursery exactly as it had been, unable to accept that Scylla and Reth might never return to their basking spot. Ralston visited her each evening, and each evening they shared their grief in silence. Words had stopped helping after the first week. Today he was searching the eastern residential sector, an area populated mostly by human families who had arrived in the most recent transport. These homes were even more spread out than the others, separated by patches of the native vegetation that humans seemed determined to preserve. His people would have cleared it all for efficiency, but humans valued what they called nature. He knocked on another door. A middle-aged human male answered, looking surprised to see a Vrelnid standing on his porch. Yes? Ralston went through his now practiced explanation. Missing hatchlings. 3 months old, albino. Have you seen anything unusual? The man shook his head sympathetically and wished him luck. Another dead end. As he walked to the next house, Ralston noticed a human girl watching him from across the street. She looked young, perhaps 12 or 13 in human years. She held a bag of some kind and seemed to be returning from somewhere. When their eyes met, she quickly looked away and hurried into a small house near the end of the street. Something about her reaction bothered him. It was not fear exactly. Humans had become accustomed to Vrelnids in the colony. This was something else. Nervousness? Guilt? He filed it away mentally and continued his systematic search. By midday, he had covered another section of the neighborhood with no results. His legs ached and his throat was dry. He found a public water station and drank, the liquid doing little to wash away the taste of failure. A human security officer found him there. It was Davidson, off duty by the looks of his casual clothing. Tribune, I heard you were out here again. I search every day. I know. Davidson sat on the bench near the water station. Listen, I want to help, but I'm worried about you. You're running yourself into the ground. My hatchlings, I know, but if you collapse from exhaustion, you won't be able to search at all. When was the last time you ate a proper meal? Slept more than 2 hours? Ralston did not answer because he could not remember. Davidson sighed. There's something you should know. We've been monitoring all the spaceport activity, all the transport manifests. No one has left the colony with Vrelnid hatchlings. We've also been watching the black market channels, nothing. Which means they are still here somewhere. Or, Davidson stopped himself. Say it. Or they didn't survive, Tribune. I'm sorry, but after 3 weeks we have to consider— No. Ralston stood abruptly. I would feel it. A parent knows. They are alive. Davidson looked like he wanted to argue, but instead just nodded. Okay, then we keep searching. But please take care of yourself. For your mate's sake, if nothing else. After Davidson left, Ralston sat for a long moment. Was he being foolish? Was he chasing hope that no longer existed? His people had a saying about lost hatchlings. Sometimes the universe takes them for reasons we cannot understand. Perhaps it was time to accept. No, he pushed the thought away violently. He would not give up. Could not give up. He resumed his search with renewed determination. House after house, question after question. As the afternoon wore on, he found himself back near the street where he had seen the nervous girl earlier. He had not yet visited the houses on this particular stretch. He approached the first one. No answer. The second one belonged to an elderly human couple who had seen nothing. The third house was the one the girl had entered that morning. He knocked. For a long moment there was no response. Then the door opened slightly, revealing the same girl. Up close she looked tired. There were dark circles under her eyes, and she seemed startled to see him. Can I help you? Her voice was cautious. Ralston showed her his authorization pad and began his explanation. But as he spoke, he noticed her hands trembling slightly. She gripped the door edge tightly, and her eyes would not quite meet his. I haven't seen any Vrelnid children, she said quickly. Too quickly. Sorry, I have to go. She started to close the door. Ralston's hand shot out, not touching her but blocking the door's path. Wait. I said I don't know anything. Now there was fear in her voice. You are frightened. Why? I'm not. I just don't like talking to strangers. Please leave. Ralston studied her carefully. His people were good at reading body language, a necessary skill when hunting. This child was definitely hiding something. But what? Had she seen something? Did she know who took his hatchlings? If you know anything, please tell me. My children are in danger. They need special care. They cannot survive alone. The girl's expression flickered with something. Surprise, confusion. Then she schooled her features again. I really don't know anything. Now please go away or I'll call security. She closed the door firmly. Ralston stood there for a moment, his instincts screaming that something was wrong here. But he had no legal right to enter. No proof of anything except a nervous child, and human children often acted nervous around Vrelnids. He moved on to the next house, but his mind kept returning to the girl. Her reaction had been unusual. He decided he would mention it to Davidson. Perhaps there was something worth investigating. As the day faded and he prepared to return home to Tessalin with no good news once again, Ralston looked back at the house one more time. Windows faced the street, but all the curtains were drawn tight, blocking out light. Why would someone block out light in the middle of the day, unless they had something inside that needed darkness? Something sensitive to brightness, something like albino hatchlings with vulnerable pink eyes. Ralston's hearts began beating faster. It was probably nothing. Humans valued privacy and often closed their curtains. But still, combined with the girl's nervous behavior, he would definitely be speaking to Davidson tonight. And tomorrow, he would be watching that house very carefully indeed. Tribune Ralston pressed his clawed hand against the nursery wall and felt nothing but cold metal. The heat lamps still glowed overhead, casting their artificial warmth into an empty space. His 2 hatchlings had been gone for 14 days now, and every hour that passed made his chest tighten with a fear he had never known before becoming a father. His mate Tessalin stood in the doorway, her crest flat against her skull in despair. She had not eaten properly since Scylla and Reth disappeared. Neither had he. Food seemed pointless when their children might be suffering somewhere, cold and alone and crying for parents who could not hear them. The security teams had searched everywhere in the Vrelnid district. They had checked every building, every storage unit, every small space where hatchlings might have crawled. Nothing. Not a single scale. Not a trace of their scent. Not even a scratch mark from their tiny claws. It was as if the 2 pale babies had simply vanished into air. Ralston could not accept that. Would not accept that. He left their quarters and walked through the colony's main corridor. Other Vrelnids moved aside when they saw him coming. They all knew about the missing hatchlings. The albino twins had been special, celebrated even. Pure white scales were so rare among their kind that many considered them blessed. Ralston had just thought them beautiful. Perfect. A human woman passed him carrying grocery bags. She nodded politely and he returned the gesture automatically. The humans had been helpful during the search. Their security chief Davidson had assigned extra officers to help look. Human volunteers had joined search parties. They seemed to genuinely care, which surprised Ralston. He had not expected such kindness from another species. But caring did not bring results. Caring did not find his babies. He reached the security office and entered without announcing himself. Davidson looked up from his desk and Ralston could read the answer on his face before the human even spoke. Nothing new, Tribune. I'm sorry. Ralston's tail swept in frustration. I want to search the human residential areas. Davidson hesitated. We've already sent teams through the main sectors. Then they missed something. I will search myself. Every home if I must. That's... Tribune, there are thousands of human residences. You can't possibly... I will try. Ralston leaned forward, his full height towering over the seated human. They are 3 months old. They cannot survive long without warmth, without food. Every hour matters. Davidson stood slowly. I understand. But you need to understand something too. Humans value their privacy. You can't just walk into people's homes without permission or cause. There are laws. My hatchlings are missing, I know. And I'm not saying no. I'm saying we need to be smart about this. Davidson pulled up a map on his screen. We've covered the central districts. Let me authorize you for the outer residential zones, the newer construction areas where families just moved in. If someone took your hatchlings, they'd want to be somewhere less established, somewhere with less neighbor scrutiny. It made sense. Ralston forced himself to calm down, to think logically. Yes, I will start there. Take this. Davidson handed him an official authorization pad. If anyone questions you, show them this. It gives you right of inquiry. Not right of entry, but you can knock on doors and ask questions. Ralston took the device. Thank you. He left immediately, not wanting to waste another moment. The outer residential zones were a 20-minute walk from the colony center. Humans had built small houses there, each with a tiny yard. They seemed to enjoy spacing themselves out, unlike Vrelnids who preferred communal living. It was another oddity of their species. The first house he approached had children playing outside. They stopped and stared at him with wide eyes. One child ran inside, calling for her mother. Ralston felt a stab of something painful. His own children should be playing, learning, growing. A human woman came to the door, looking nervous. Can I help you? Ralston showed her the authorization pad and explained about his missing hatchlings. The woman's expression softened into sympathy. Oh, that's terrible. I'm so sorry. But no, I haven't seen any Vrelnid children around here, just human kids. If you see anything, hear anything, please contact security. Of course. I hope you find them. He moved to the next house. And the next. And the next. Each time he explained, showed the pictures of Scylla and Reth that he carried on his datapad. Each time people expressed sympathy and said they had seen nothing. By the time the artificial sun began setting, Ralston had visited 47 homes and learned nothing useful. He stood in the street, exhaustion finally catching up with his body. He had barely slept since the hatchlings disappeared. Barely rested. His legs trembled slightly and his vision blurred at the edges. But he could not stop. Would not stop. A small human child rode past on a wheeled device they called a bicycle. She looked at him curiously as she passed. Mister, are you okay? Ralston focused on her. I am searching for my children. Oh. The girl's face grew serious in that way human children had when trying to be helpful. What do they look like? He showed her the picture. Two tiny Vrelnids, pale as moonlight, their pink eyes bright with curiosity. The girl studied the image carefully. They're really pretty. I'll keep my eyes open, okay? Thank you, small one. She rode away and Ralston continued his search. Tomorrow he would cover more houses, more streets, more possible hiding places. He would search every single dwelling in the human districts if necessary. He would search until he found them or until his body gave out completely. Because they were his children, his responsibility, his whole world, and somewhere out there they needed him. Ralston spent a sleepless night thinking about the nervous girl in her darkened house. By the time artificial dawn broke over the colony, he had convinced himself he was being paranoid. Human children were often anxious. Humans often closed their curtains. He was seeing patterns because he desperately wanted to find his hatchlings, not because those patterns actually existed. Still, he found himself walking back to that street before he had consciously decided to return there. He positioned himself near a public seating area with a clear view of the house. If anyone asked, he was simply resting during his search. Watching and waiting felt wrong somehow, invasive in a way his door-to-door inquiries had not been. But something in his gut insisted there was more to discover here. An hour passed. 2. The neighborhood came to life around him as humans headed to their various occupations. Children emerged for school, but the house he watched remained still and quiet. Then around mid-morning the door opened. The girl stepped out carrying 2 bags. She looked around nervously, her gaze passing right over Ralston without seeming to notice him among the garden decorations and street furniture. She walked quickly toward the commercial district. Ralston waited 5 minutes, then followed at a distance. His size made stealth difficult, but the colony's mixed population meant a Vrelnid on the street attracted no special attention. The girl entered a general store. Through the window he watched her shopping with visible nervousness, constantly glancing around as if afraid of being observed. She purchased what appeared to be food items, a lot of them. More than a single young human would typically need. She also bought something from the pharmacy section, though Ralston could not see what. When she paid, she used cash credits instead of an account scan. Unusual. Most colonists used account scans for convenience and record keeping. The girl left the store and hurried back toward her house, still checking over her shoulder periodically. Ralston followed at an even greater distance now, his suspicions growing stronger. Back at the house, she disappeared inside with her purchases. He approached Davidson later that afternoon at the security office. "I need you to check something for me." Davidson looked up from his work. "What is it?" "There is a house in the eastern residential sector. A young human girl lives there. She acts very nervous, keeps her curtains closed even during the day, and purchases large amounts of food using cash credits instead of leaving an account trail. And you think this connects to your hatchlings? I think it is worth investigating." Davidson pulled up a map. "Which house?" Ralston provided the location. Davidson's fingers moved across his console, pulling up records. "That's the Preston residence. Roger and Linda Preston and their daughter Lily, age 13. Father works in engineering, mother in agriculture. Standard background checks came back clean when they immigrated 6 months ago." Davidson paused, reading something on his screen. "Huh, what?" "The parents aren't currently on planet. They're on a 3-month assignment to the orbital station. Been there for 5 weeks. The daughter stayed behind because she didn't want to interrupt her schooling." Davidson looked up. "She's living alone?" "That's unusual, but not illegal for a kid her age if they have remote parental oversight." 5 weeks, Ralston repeated. "My hatchlings disappeared 3 weeks ago. You think a 13-year-old human girl kidnapped your children?" "I think she is hiding something." Davidson considered this. "It's thin, Tribune. Nervous behavior and closed curtains aren't enough for a search warrant. And the food purchases? A teenage girl alone might just be hoarding snacks. They do that. What about welfare check? You said she is young to live alone. Perhaps security should verify she is well." Davidson smiled slightly. "That I can do. It's reasonable to check on a minor living without physical parental presence." He stood. "Let's go." They walked to the house together. Ralston felt his hearts pounding harder with each step. This had to be it. It had to be. The alternative, returning to endless searching with no leads, was unbearable. Davidson knocked on the door. After a long pause, Lily opened it. Her eyes widened when she saw Ralston standing beside the security officer. "Lily Preston? I'm Chief Davidson, Colony Security. We're doing routine welfare checks on minors living independently. May we come in?" The girl's face went pale. "I'm fine." "Everything's fine. You don't need to. It's just standard procedure. Won't take long. My parents know I'm alone. They gave permission. You can call them. I'm sure they did, but we still need to verify living conditions. It's regulations." Davidson's voice was gentle but firm. "If everything's fine, we'll be gone in 5 minutes." Lily stood frozen in the doorway. Ralston could see panic building in her eyes. She was definitely hiding something. But what, his hatchlings? Or something else entirely? "I have rights," Lily said, her voice shaking. "You can't just come in without... Actually, for welfare checks on unaccompanied minors, we can. But I'd prefer your cooperation." Davidson's expression remained friendly. "Lily, if something's wrong, if you're in some kind of trouble, we can help. That's our job." Tears suddenly formed in the girl's eyes. "You don't understand. They'll die. If I let you in, if you take them away, they'll die." Ralston's entire body went rigid. "They?" Lily looked at him directly for the first time, and he saw desperation in her young face. "Your babies. They're here. They're alive. But if you put them back in that cold facility, they won't survive. They need warmth. Constant warmth. The kind your artificial lamps can't provide. You took my hatchlings." Ralston's voice came out as a growl. He took a step forward, and Davidson quickly moved between them. "Wait. Everyone wait." Davidson held up his hands. "Lily, are you saying you have Tribune Ralston's missing children inside this house?" She nodded miserably. "But I didn't kidnap them. I saved them. They were dying. They were in a temperature-controlled nursery with every resource. That was making them sick." Lily's voice rose. "I saw you at the park 3 months ago with your mate, remember? You brought them out in a portable incubator. Everyone was looking at them because they're so rare and pretty. But I noticed they seemed weak, lethargic. I have a degree in xenobiology from online studies. It's what I want to do when I grow up. And I recognized the symptoms of thermal stress." Ralston tried to process this. "You were saying my nursery was inadequate?" "Not inadequate. Wrong. Your species evolved in a specific environment with specific heat patterns. But albino individuals of any species often have different thermoregulation needs than pigmented ones. Your heat lamps were providing the right temperature for normal Vrelnid hatchlings, but not for albinos. They need sustained, even warmth. The kind a living body provides." Davidson looked between them. Can we please continue this conversation inside? Lily hesitated, then stepped back. Okay, but please don't freak out. They entered the house. It was warm inside, very warm by human standards. Ralston felt it immediately. A comfortable heat that reminded him of his homeworld's sun-baked rocks. They followed Lily to what appeared to be a bedroom. She opened the door. On a bed in the center of the room, surrounded by carefully arranged heating pads and covered with soft blankets, two small white forms lay sleeping peacefully. Ralston stood frozen in the doorway, unable to process what he was seeing. Scylla and Reth, his babies, his missing children, lay curled together in the center of the human girl's bed. They looked healthy. More than healthy. They looked better than they had ever looked in his carefully maintained nursery. Their white scales gleamed softly in the dim light. Their small chests rose and fell in peaceful sleep. As he watched, Scylla made a tiny chirping sound and snuggled closer to her brother, seeking his warmth even in sleep. They were alive. They were safe. They were here. His legs nearly gave out. 3 weeks of searching, 3 weeks of fear and grief and desperate hope, and they had been here the entire time. Less than 2 kilometers from his home. Tribune? Davidson's voice seemed to come from very far away. Ralston took a shaking step into the room. Both hatchlings stirred at the movement. Pink eyes opened, unfocused at first, then sharpening as they recognized him. Reth chirped excitedly. Scylla's crest, barely developed, tried to raise in happiness. They knew him. They remembered him. He crossed the room in 3 quick strides and gathered them into his arms, feeling their warmth, their weight, the realness of them. They chirped and squeaked, their tiny claws gripping his scales as they climbed, up to their favorite perching spot on his shoulders. Exactly like they had done before they disappeared. Papa. Reth chirped in simple baby speak. It was the first word Ralston had taught them. Something broke inside him. He sank to his knees on the floor, cradling his hatchlings, and made a sound that no one in the room had ever heard of Relnid make. A deep, wrenching sob of pure relief. Davidson quietly stepped back, giving him space. Lily stood near the door, tears running down her own face. Long minutes passed before Ralston could speak. When he did, his voice came out rough. How? How did you take them? Lily wiped her eyes. I didn't break in, if that's what you're asking. 3 weeks ago I saw you at the medical center. You looked so worried. Your mate was there too, and I overheard the doctor saying the hatchlings weren't gaining weight properly, that they seemed weaker than they should be. I went home and researched everything I could find about Vrelnid development and albinism in reptilian species. She gestured to a desk covered in data pads and printed research papers. Everything pointed to the same conclusion. They needed constant warmth. Not intermittent heat lamp exposure. Constant. And the only way to provide that safely was body heat. So you stole them. I saved them, Lily said firmly. 2 nights later I went to your quarters. I didn't have to break anything. Your door lock was still set to the default code that all residential units ship with. You never changed it. Security people hate that, by the way. Davidson made a small sound that might have been agreement. I went to the nursery. They were both awake, crying, cold crying. I could tell because they were shivering. I picked them up and they immediately stopped crying and fell asleep against my skin. That's when I knew I was right. Lily's voice shook slightly. I left a note in their basking spot saying they were safe. But I guess you didn't see it because you probably immediately called security. Ralston tried to remember that night. The panic, the fear, the immediate alert. No, he had not looked for a note. Had not even thought there might be one. For 3 weeks, you let me suffer. Let my mate suffer. We thought they were dead. I know. I'm sorry. But if I had come forward, everyone would have just put them back in the nursery and they would have died. I needed time to prove they could thrive this way, to gather enough medical data that doctors would have to listen. She pointed to a tablet on the nightstand. I've been monitoring their temperature, weight, feeding habits, activity levels. Everything. They've gained 12% body mass, their scale quality has improved. Their response times are faster. All the markers of healthy development. Ralston looked down at his hatchlings. It was true. They did look healthier, stronger, but still, you had no right. I had no choice, Lily said quietly. Would you have listened if I had come to you? A 13-year-old human girl telling a tribune that he was caring for his children wrong? The honest answer was no. He would have dismissed her, probably complained to her parents about inappropriate interference. The pride of his rank, his species, his position as father, would never have allowed him to accept criticism from a child of another race. Davidson cleared his throat. Lily, what you did was technically kidnapping, regardless of your intentions. I know. You could face serious legal consequences. I know that too. Her chin lifted defiantly. But I'd do it again. Because they're alive and healthy, and they wouldn't be otherwise. Ralston stood slowly, his hatchlings still perched on his shoulders. He looked at this strange human child who had turned his world upside down, who had stolen his children and saved them at the same time, who had let him suffer for weeks while she proved a point that his pride would never have accepted without proof. You said they need constant warmth, Lily nodded. For at least another 2 months until their thermoregulation fully develops. After that, they should be fine with normal heat lamp supplementation. And this constant warmth, it must come from body heat? Ideally, yes. Heating pads and blankets help, but direct contact with a living heat source is best. That's why I've been sleeping with them, keeping them against my skin as much as possible. She gestured to her room. I moved all my stuff in here, kept the temperature high, stayed home from school. My parents think I've been going to classes through remote learning. Davidson made a note on his pad. That's another violation we'll need to discuss. I don't care about school right now, Lily said. These babies needed help. Ralston studied her. This human child had sacrificed her education, her freedom, her comfort, all for hatchlings that were not even her species. She had committed a crime knowing she would eventually be caught, simply because she believed it was right. His people had a word for such individuals. Roughly translated, it meant soul guardian, someone who protected life even at great personal cost. I need to take them home. My mate needs to see them. Of course, Lily said immediately. But please, Tribune, listen to the research, look at the medical data, talk to doctors who understand xenobiology. Don't put them back in that nursery the way it was. They'll survive now, they're stronger, but they still need more warmth than what you were providing. You will come with us. You will explain this to my mate. To the doctors, you will show them your research. Lily looked surprised. You're not going to have me arrested? Oh, she's definitely under arrest, Davidson said. But the Tribune's right. We need medical professionals to review all this before we make any final decisions about the hatchlings' care. Ralston looked down at Scylla and Reth, healthy and content on his shoulders. Then at Lily, who had given up everything to save them. After the doctors see them, he said slowly, we will discuss what happens next. All of us together. Including my mate. Including medical staff, including you. Okay. Lily's voice was small now, young. Are my parents going to be really mad? Davidson actually smiled. Kid, your parents are going to be a lot of things. But I suspect mad won't be the main one. Tesselin's cry echoed through their entire residential level when she saw the hatchlings. She had been lying on the nursery floor when they entered. Something she had done every day since the disappearance. As if proximity to the space might somehow bring them back. The sound of the door opening had not even made her lift her head. Then Scylla chirped. Tesselin moved faster than Ralston had ever seen her move. She was across the room in an instant, gathering both hatchlings into her arms, making sounds that were part joy and part anguish. The babies climbed over her, chirping happily, acting as if they had never been gone at all. Where? How? Tesselin looked at Ralston with eyes that held too many emotions to name. He gestured to Lily, who stood nervously in the doorway with Davidson. This human child has been caring for them. She believes our nursery was harming them. She has research to support this claim. Tesselin's crest rose in instant aggression. She stole our babies? She saved them, Ralston said, and was surprised to find he meant it. Or so she claims. We need medical confirmation. Within an hour. Their quarters were filled with people. Dr. Wilson, the colony's chief medical officer, had brought a xenobiology specialist named Dr. Singh. Both were currently examining Scylla and Reth while making notes and taking scans. Lily sat on the floor surrounded by her data pads and research, explaining her findings to anyone who would listen. Tessalin had not left the hatchlings' side since they returned. She kept touching them, as if needing constant confirmation that they were real. Dr. Wilson finally looked up from his scans. "I'll need to review everything in detail, but preliminary results are remarkable. These hatchlings show significant improvement over their last checkup 3 weeks ago. Weight gain, muscle development, scale quality, all excellent. But they were being cared for properly before," Tessalin protested. "We maintained the exact temperature and humidity levels recommended for our species." Dr. Singh spoke up. "Recommended for typical Vrelnid development, yes. But Lily's research raises an important point we missed. Albinism isn't just about coloration. It affects multiple biological systems, including thermoregulation." She pulled up a comparison on her screen. "Look at these thermal scans. A normal Vrelnid hatchling can maintain core temperature with periodic heat lamp exposure because their scales absorb and retain warmth efficiently. But albino scales lack the melanin that facilitates this process. They lose heat much faster. So the lamps were inadequate?" Ralston asked. "Not inadequate. Insufficient frequency. Your hatchlings would warm under the lamp, then cool too quickly during the off periods. They were experiencing constant mild hypothermia stress, not enough to kill them quickly, but enough to suppress their development and immune function." Tessalin's crest flattened in distress. "We were slowly killing them?" "You didn't know," Lily said quickly. "The medical literature on Vrelnid albinism is really limited because it's so rare. I only figured it out because I've been studying comparative xenobiology for years. It's my special interest." "A special interest?" Tessalin looked confused. "Human term," Davidson explained. "Means a topic someone focuses on intensely. Like a passion." Dr. Wilson continued examining the data. "What I'm seeing here is consistent with Lily's theory. These hatchlings thrived under constant warmth. The question is how to provide that going forward. Lily was using her own body heat. That's not a sustainable long-term solution." "Why not?" Lily asked. Everyone looked at her. "I mean, why isn't it sustainable? I can keep doing it. I don't mind." "You're 13 years old," Davidson said. "You need to go to school, have a life, not spend 24 hours a day as a living heat source. But if it's what they need, there has to be another way," Dr. Singh said. "Some cultures use parent caring for thermoregulation, extended periods where the infant is held against the parent's body." She looked at Ralston and Tessalin. "Vrelnid body temperature is similar to human. You could provide the warmth they need." Tessalin immediately picked up both hatchlings and held them against her chest. They chirped contentedly and began to fall asleep within moments. "Like this?" she asked. "Exactly like that. They should be held or carried as much as possible for the next several weeks. Eventually their own thermoregulation will mature, and they'll need less contact, but for now, constant physical touch is crucial." "We can do that," Ralston said immediately. "We will take turns. They will always be with one of us." Lily looked relieved, then worried. "But what about at night? When you're both sleeping? They need warmth then too." Dr. Singh considered this. Modified sleeping arrangements. Both parents and hatchlings together, probably with supplemental heating pads as backup. "I'll consult with some colleagues and design a proper protocol." "I can help," Lily offered. "I have all my research and I've been monitoring them constantly. I know their patterns." Tessalin looked at the human girl for a long moment. Her crest moved through several positions, expressing emotions that Lily probably could not interpret. Finally she spoke. "You took my children?" "Yes. You made me think they were dead." "I'm sorry. I truly am. But you saved their lives." Lily nodded slowly. Tessalin stood, still holding the sleeping hatchlings, and approached Lily. The girl tensed slightly, but did not back away. Tessalin reached out with one clawed hand and gently touched Lily's head, a gesture of blessing among her people. "Thank you, small guardian. My mate and I owe you a debt we can never repay." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "You don't owe me anything. I just wanted them to be okay. Nevertheless, the debt exists." Tessalin looked at Davidson. "What happens to her now? What punishment does she face?" Davidson shifted uncomfortably. "Technically, she committed multiple crimes. Kidnapping, breaking and entering, truancy. But given the circumstances, The fact that she acted to preserve life and that the hatchlings are healthy and returned safely, I suspect the judge will be lenient. Probably community service, maybe some counseling. I will speak at her hearing, Ralston said. I will explain what she did and why. So will I, Tessalin added. Dr. Wilson cleared his throat. For what it's worth, I'll be submitting a report about how her intervention likely saved these hatchlings' lives. That should carry some weight with the court. Lily wiped her eyes. I don't care what happens to me. I just want them to be okay. They will be, Dr. Singh assured her. Thanks to you, we now know how to care for them properly. You may have even helped establish a new protocol for all albino vrelnid hatchlings in the future. Really? Really? I'm going to submit your research to the Xenobiology Journal. With your permission, of course. Lily looked stunned. My research? But I'm just a kid. You're a kid who made an important discovery through careful observation and documentation. That's science, regardless of age. Ralston watched his hatchling sleep peacefully against Tessalin's chest. 3 weeks ago, his world had ended. Now it was somehow reconstructed. Different than before, but perhaps better. His children were safe. His mate was whole again. And a young human with an unusual passion had shown them all that sometimes the most important knowledge comes from the most unexpected sources. Lily Preston, he said formally. Among my people, there is a tradition. When someone performs a great service for a family, they are invited to become part of that family's circle. It is not adoption, but a bond of honor and obligation. Would you accept such a position with us? Lily looked between him and Tessalin, clearly surprised. What would that mean? It means you would be welcome in our home. It means we would support your education in xenobiology. It means these hatchlings would know you as their guardian sister. And it means we would be there for you as you were there for them. When you're not grounded, Davidson added dryly. Which you will be. Very grounded. But after that, Lily smiled through her tears. I would like that. Very much. 6 months had passed since the day Ralston found his hatchlings in Lily Preston's bedroom. The Colony Council had ruled on her case 3 months ago, deciding that her actions, while illegal, had been taken in good faith to preserve life. She received 200 hours of community service, which she completed by working in the colony's xenobiology research lab. She also had to attend weekly counseling sessions, though she reported that those were actually quite interesting, because the counselor let her talk about her research. Her parents, upon returning from the orbital station, had been shocked, angry, proud, and confused in roughly equal measure. They grounded her for 3 months, then immediately signed her up for advanced xenobiology courses at the colony's learning center. Today was a special day. Scylla and Reth were 6 months old enough that their thermoregulation had fully developed. They still preferred being held and carried, but they could now maintain their own body temperature without constant contact. It was a milestone worth celebrating. Ralston's quarters had been transformed. The old nursery with its inadequate heat lamps had been completely redesigned, based on Dr. Singh's protocols and Lily's research. Now it featured a combination of radiant floor heating, adjustable ambient temperature controls, and yes, a comfortable sleeping nest where parents and hatchlings could all rest together. The new design had already been shared with other vrelnid families throughout the colony network, but tonight the hatchlings were not in the nursery. They were in the common area, being passed around between a dozen visitors who had come for the celebration. Scylla perched on Dr. Wilson's shoulder, examining his hair with curious little chirps. Reth was attempting to climb Davidson's uniform, tiny claws catching on the fabric. He's getting strong, Davidson observed, carefully steadying the hatchling. Good grip, they both are, Tessalin said proudly. She looked better than she had in months, her scales gleaming with proper nutrition and sleep. Last week, Scylla climbed to the top of our doorframe. I found her napping there. Independent little thing, Dr. Singh said, smiling. That's a good sign. Healthy development. Lily sat on the floor playing with both hatchlings now, a specially designed puzzle toy between them. She visited 3 times a week, always bringing new enrichment items or asking questions about their development. The hatchlings loved her, climbing on her the moment she arrived and chirping with obvious joy. Look, she said excitedly. Reth just solved the sequence puzzle. That's supposed to be for 8-month-olds. Show off, Ralston said fondly, looking at his son. Both hatchlings had grown remarkably. Their scales gleamed with health, bright white and perfect. Their pink eyes were alert and curious. They were hitting every developmental milestone early. The door chime sounded. Tessalin opened it to reveal an older Vrelnid couple. Ralston immediately stood and bowed respectfully. These were elders from his homeworld, come to see the albino hatchlings that had survived against odds. Tribune Ralston, the female elder said. We heard remarkable stories. We wanted to see for ourselves. Ralston gestured them inside. Honored elders welcome. These are our children Scylla and Reth. The elders approached slowly, examining the hatchlings with careful attention. Scylla, never shy, immediately climbed onto the female elder's arm and chirped a greeting. The elder's crest rose in surprise, strong grip, alert eyes. Good weight, she looked at Ralston. On our homeworld, we believed albino hatchlings could not survive. We thought it was simply their fate to be weak. We thought so too, Ralston admitted, until a human child proved us wrong. He gestured to Lily, who stood nervously. The elders studied her with interest. You are the one who took them? The male elder asked. Yes, elder. I'm sorry for the distress I caused, but you saved them, the female elder interrupted. You saw what we could not see. You knew what we did not know. There is no shame in that, young one. Only honor. Lily looked like she might cry. Thank you. The male elder picked up Reth, who immediately began exploring the elder's crest decorations. What you discovered here will change how we raise all albino hatchlings. Already 3 families on the homeworld have requested your protocols. 2 hatchlings who were failing now thrive. 2? Lily's eyes went wide. Really? Really? You have saved more lives than just these 2. The elder looked at Ralston. This is why we came. To offer formal recognition. Your family has brought honor to all our people through this discovery, and the human child is to be commended for her wisdom. Dr. Singh spoke up. If I may, elders, Lily's research paper is being published next month in the Interspecies Biology Quarterly. It's already creating significant interest in xenobiology circles. As it should, the female elder said. She turned to Lily. You have a gift, young one. The ability to see across species lines and understand what others miss. This is rare and precious. I just really like studying how different aliens work, Lily said. It's fascinating how the same biological challenges get solved in different ways depending on evolution and environment and... She stopped, blushing. Sorry, I get excited about this stuff. Never apologize for passion, the elder said. The universe needs beings who can bridge the gaps between species, who can see similarities where others see only differences. Davidson raised his glass. I think that deserves a toast. To Lily Preston, bridge builder and hatchling saver. Everyone raised their drinks. Even Scylla and Reth chirped along, though they did not understand the gesture. Later, after the elders and most guests had left, Ralston found himself on the balcony with Davidson and Lily. Inside, Tessalin was putting the hatchlings to bed, singing them a traditional Vrelnid lullaby. Strange how things work out, Davidson said. 3 weeks of searching and they were right here the whole time. Not strange, Ralston said. Necessary. If Lily had returned them immediately, we would not have believed her. We would have put them back in the same conditions. They might have died. You really think so? I know so. Pride would have blinded me. Sometimes the lesson must be harsh before we can learn it. Lily looked out at the colony lights. Do you still feel angry? About what I did? Ralston considered the question carefully. I feel many things. Grateful that you saved them. Sorry that you felt you could not come to us directly. Humbled that a child saw what a tribune could not. But angry? He shook his head. No. How can I be angry at the being who gave me back my children? Plus you got a pretty cool guardian sister out of it, Lily said with a small smile. Someone to babysit when you need a break. You are not a babysitter. You are family. Lily's smile grew. I know. I was just testing to see if you'd correct me. Davidson laughed. She's going to be trouble, this one. Good, Ralston said. The universe needs more trouble of this kind. The kind that questions assumptions and saves lives and builds bridges. He looked at Lily seriously. You have a future in xenobiology. A real future. We will help you reach it. My parents said the same thing. They're talking about sending me to advanced programs after I graduate. Whatever you need. Education references internships. The Vrelnid community will support you. You have earned that. Inside, Tessalin appeared with both hatchlings, now sleepy but not quite asleep yet. Scylla reached toward Lily, making grabbing motions. I think someone wants their guardian sister, Tessalin said. Lily took Scylla gently, cradling the hatchling against her chest. Scylla immediately curled up and closed her eyes, content. Reth chirped jealously until Lily sat down and made room for both of them. Ralston watched this scene and felt something he had not expected to feel 6 months ago. Peace. Complete peace. His family was whole. His children were healthy, and they had gained an unexpected member who loved them fiercely. You know what the best part is? Lily said quietly, both hatchlings now asleep on her lap. In all the research I did, all the species I studied, I kept finding the same thing. Almost every intelligent species, no matter how different they look or where they evolved, has the same basic instinct. To protect the young, to nurture life, to sacrifice for the next generation. Humanity, fuck yeah, Davidson said softly. Lily looked at him quizzically. What? Sorry, old internet phrase from Earth, but it fits. Here you are, a human, caring for alien babies as if they were your own species. That's very human, the ability to see past differences and just see life that needs protecting. I think it's more than just human, Lily said. The Tribune searched for weeks. Never gave up. That's the same instinct. Maybe that's what makes a species truly intelligent. Not technology or science, but the ability to love and protect across all boundaries. Ralston's crest rose in agreement. Perhaps you are right. Perhaps that is what binds all of us together. Not treaties or trade, but the simple understanding that life is precious. All life. Tessalyn joined them, settling beside Ralston and resting her head on his shoulder. I used to think our species were very different, humans and Vrelnids. But watching Lily with our babies, I see now we are not so different at all. Just different shapes containing the same spark. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the colony lights, listening to the soft breathing of sleeping hatchlings. Somewhere out there in the universe were countless species, countless differences, countless barriers. But here, in this moment, none of that mattered. Here was family, found in the most unexpected way, but family nonetheless. And in the end, Ralston thought that was what mattered most. Not how you found each other, but that you held on once you did. His search had ended. But something better had begun,